going back to what you mentioned before, which was the fact that everybody knew behind the scenes, but nobody was talking about out front, which was the declining mental health of Biden.
Yeah.
Just how widespread was that internally, do you think?
I mean, it was impossible to ignore.
But if you
Impossible to
compartmentalize
ignore.
him, keep him away, we don't let him out front, that's a cheap fake edit, that's a whatever.
I think that's the challenge, though, is they even as they did all of that, it wasn't enough to try to hide his both physical and mental decline. I was with him on the debate stage in 2020 when I was running for president, and I've known Joe Biden for a very long time. I was friends with his son, who also served in the Army National Guard, and um, people have asked me, like, did you see signs of this back in 2020? No. I mean, it was the same Joe Biden that I'd known for many, many years. And I think recently someone did a side by side of his performance on the debate stage in 2020 versus now, and how significant that difference is. So even hearing Kamala Harris and the people around him and, Morning Joe on MSNBC say, oh, he's never been sharper and he's in the best form he's ever been in his life. Like, anybody who knows him now and certainly has known him over the years knew that was all crap.
We've all seen those photos of before term and after term. I mean, even
That's
Obama,
true.
who entered as this sort of vibrant, handsome black guy, and he comes out and you go, that's 2 decades in 8 years. Congratulations.
Full job.
Yep, of course it is.
Every president that served. So obviously, when you're in your late 70s, just imagine the toll.
Ruthless. So this is something about to make one of the most unpopular cases that the internet's going to hear this year. Every time that I've seen this sort of commentary around Biden's decline, it's made me feel sad. It's made me feel uncomfortable as I watch this, and for 2 reasons. First one is the one that everybody kind of agrees with, which is it's an older man who's sort of being forced by this organization to be the tip of the spear when he's evidently not capable of doing it, and blah, blah, blah. But the other side is this is the twilight of his career.
Yeah.
And people remember the thing that you left them with. Their lasting impression is often the one that kind of continues through. And, you can make whatever criticisms you want about what he's actually done or said throughout his career. I don't really know that much. But I know the way that people socially interpret signals from others. And to think that you've got this guy, how long has he been? Like 5 decades or something? He's been in it forever.
I think he was the youngest U.S. senator ever elected when he got elected to the U.S. Senate.
Right. And now he's the oldest president ever.
Yeah.
So this guy's like the parentheses of U.S. government.
Yes.
Right? The alpha and the fucking omega.
Yeah.
And to think, doesn't matter what you say, that was a very, very long career, culminating in you getting to the pinnacle of this, and that being this sort of really awful lingering aftertaste that everybody gets. And I go, that makes me sad. That makes me feel sad for somebody.
I don't think that's unpopular at all. I think it's just, I mean, as humans who have empathy,
not much of that in political discourse.
Sadly not. And that's been I think that has been one of the sad things that I've seen is all of the different clips and the footage that's out there that gets replayed over and over and over again, and just the mocking and the ridicule. It is unfortunate that is where today's political discourse has gotten, rather than just recognizing exactly what you've said. Like, it is sad to see any person in this state, especially on a global stage. The thing is, I mean, Joe Biden's run for president a few times before he got elected. It's what he's always wanted. This is the pinnacle of what he has always wanted to be, to achieve that title, to be the president of the United States. And so, ultimately, he's the guy who made the decision to run. I have no doubt in my mind that he firmly, even against other people maybe telling him he shouldn't run for re-election, Joe Biden is well known to be a very stubborn man, a very stubborn man. So the fact that he chose to run, he chose to stay, and he chose to run for re-election, I'm sure there are people, I know there are people around him who benefited from him staying, but that was his decision.
That's why so few people are going to give him any sympathy for what's happened, because you already know that you're in decline. You already
Yes.
know, and if this is true, if it is the case that he wants to run it, it's not Jill, marionetting.
I'm sure she's got a role to play in it as well.
Marionetting him behind the scenes or whatever. That he is continuing even now, and then you actually get yourself into a much more awful conversation, which is he cognizant of exactly what he's potentially trying to sign himself up for? Like, are we talking about, someone who's really, really detached? I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, what an absolute... The fact that the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Jill Biden story makes Trump's reality TV campaign actually just look like one smooth arc between it all. Stuff behind the scenes and stories and what's going on in Ukraine, and there's this deal, and there was a backhander and all of these photos, and there was a laptop thing. Like, this country is mental. Like, this country's crazy.
And the worst thing, I mean, all of this is deeply troubling, but when you really look at it, who's forgotten along the way in this whole narrative? It's the everyday working man and woman who's struggling to get by. It's, the fact that we have more and more kids graduating from high school functionally illiterate, a failing education system, that open borders and everything that's happening because of that. The real issues that are actually affecting everyday Americans' lives are too often lost, or go unheard. Their voices go unheard because of all of this other stuff.